Everyone, it's wonderful to be here with you today, sharing a topic that I once overlooked in a very personal way. Many years ago, when I was entirely absorbed in launching my early ventures, I experienced a significant oversight. I was so focused on developing new technologies and trying to revolutionize entire industries that I forgot something crucial, my sense of place and responsibility in the local community. I remember one particular instance and was so laser focused on a project deadline that I politely declined a request to support a local neighborhood effort. It sounded trivial to me at the time, and I thought, surely there are bigger problems in the world to solve. But that decision, minor as it seemed in the grand scheme of global innovation, planted a seed of regret. I recall later noticing the same neighborhood struggling with piles of trash, vacant lots, and frustrated residents who felt ignored by those of us too busy chasing the big thing. That moment gnawed at me. Deep down, I knew better. I always believed in ways to explore and push humanity forward, yet I failed to recognize that local volunteering is a foundational piece of that progress. I also saw the effect on my team. Many of whom wanted to contribute felt that it wouldn't be as valued. My failure not just about ignoring a single cleanup day. It was about ignoring the vital bridge between the local environment and our collective capacity for global change. You can't put rockets to Mars or renewable energy solutions for the entire planet if you can't find the time to help clean up the street you live on. The disconnect was glaring, and that realization weighed heavily on me. The turning point came when one of my closest colleagues insisted I attend a small community forum. It was nothing fancy, just a group of local residents and volunteers discussing ways to reduce neighborhood waste and improve living conditions. I reluctantly agreed, thinking my presence might be a mere gesture of goodwill. As I listened to heartfelt testimonies from families concerned about their children's future, and from seniors worried about the decay of once thriving blocks, I felt an unmistakable jolt of clarity. This was not a trivial matter. This was a microcosm of every solution I'd ever championed. If we want a better, more sustainable future on a grand scale, we had to invest in the immediate spaces where we live and work. At that evening, I realized how essential local volunteering is not only for community wellness, but for fueling larger aspirations. I share this story because many of you may have felt a similar pull between global ambitions and neighborhood realities. Maybe you've been so focused on your career goals or personal pursuits that your local community slipped to the back of your mind. And yet, you're here today listening, which means you're open to the possibility that true success cannot thrive in isolation. You likely sense, as I eventually did, that collective progress starts right at your doorstep. This desire to do something meaningful is what ties us together in this room. It creates a common ground where we can unite, regardless of a profession or background, to make tangible local differences. I propose now is a renewed perspective to blend our big visions, whether they be technological breakthroughs, entrepreneurial ventures, or personal dreams, with the indispensable act of contributing to our local environment. Let's channel the same energy we pour into launching startups or scaling innovations and invest a portion of it in volunteering or helping out where we actually live. My challenge to you is simple. Shift the narrative so that local action is the bedrock of our broader aspirations. We can be the catalyst who inspire others to do the same. By intertwining our grand ambitions with consistent local engagement, we create a positive feedback loop that benefits everyone, from the neighbor next door to the global community we hope to serve. Now, let us explore the essence of volunteering and local service through 5 key points, each revealing a unique facet of why and how getting involved in our own communities will propel us forward on this collective journey. In doing so, we'll navigate the trials and triumphs of this endeavor, discover deeper truths about ourselves, and ultimately return equipped with the wisdom to uplift both our neighborhoods and the world at large. First, the role of immediate community impact, why it's the springboard for transformation. Second, we'll explore how volunteering not only changes the world around us, but reshapes our own emotional and mental framework. We'll delve into data and trends, unearthing the undeniable correlations between strong local communities and broader societal advances. Fourth, we'll engage in practical, interactive methods that can seamlessly integrate community service into our busy lives. Finally, we'll tackle the major challenges and develop a problem-solving mindset to address them, ensuring that our local impact endures. Let's begin. I believe our journey starts with discovering the profound connection between local volunteering and our capacity to drive meaningful innovation. At first glance, these might seem unrelated. Why would a technology entrepreneur or a busy student or a corporate manager want to spend valuable time on a neighborhood project? The answer is surprisingly simple. Every act of local service provides the groundwork for broader systemic changes. If we wish to create the future we envision, it has to start here with our hands in our shared spaces. So let's embark on this path together, open minds and a readiness to be positively transformed in ways we might never have anticipated. Exploring the first key point, let's begin with the discovery process that reveals why local service is so fundamentally transformative. Have you ever wondered why some communities manage to thrive even when resources are limited? Others struggle despite an abundance of opportunity. This question cuts to the heart of community resilience and invites us to examine the power of collective effort at the most basic level. See small towns bouncing back from economic downturns through volunteer-driven beautification programs. Tech hubs evolving into socially aware ecosystems precisely because local advocates took the lead in neighborhood support. These examples point to an intriguing phenomenon. It isn't always the magnitude of resources that defines success, but how those resources are channeled and multiplied through volunteer efforts. Consider a case study from a once struggling district in Los Angeles. A group of volunteers noticed rising youth delinquency rates. After thorough observation, they launched an after-school mentoring program in church basements and community centers. Within a year, youth crime statistics showed a noticeable decrease, and performance of student per school saw a modest but meaningful rise. Further analysis revealed the secret lay not just in tutoring, providing a supportive framework where young people felt genuinely seen and heard by local mentors. Over time, these kids developed self-confidence, leading them away from harmful influences. Results were so compelling that local businesses began to invest in these programs, drawing citywide attention to the idea that community-driven volunteer initiatives could spark systemic change. From that spark, districts started attracting more grants, and eventually local entrepreneurs took notice, establishing small tech workshops for students. What started as a volunteer effort in a church basement evolved into a holistic ecosystem that nurtured talent, generated hope, and spurred local economic revitalization. Delving deeper into this, the transformation didn't occur solely because of external funding or sweeping policy changes. It happened because volunteers became the bridge between problems and solutions. That bridge is built on empathy, human connection, and genuine commitment, qualities that can't be legislated or purchased. This aligns perfectly with what I've observed in the world of startups. The most successful companies emerge from those that truly understand the needs of their users, taking a bottom-up approach. In volunteering, we discover an even more direct bottom-up pathway to community change. We begin to see that a smaller scale project, fueled by a handful of dedicated individuals, can eventually ripple outward, creating momentum for larger structural shifts. The local volunteer thus becomes a catalyst for transformation, bridging gaps and inspiring others to get involved. This leads us to consider practical solutions for those who feel too overwhelmed by personal or professional responsibilities to volunteer. Often the biggest hurdle is simply not knowing where to begin. The best starting point is proximity. Look around at your immediate surroundings. Is there a local school that needs tutors? A shelter that could use an extra pair of hands on weekends? A park that's fallen into disrepair? Even small acts like organizing a weekend cleanup or reading sessions for kids can be transformative when done consistently and collectively. Once you find that foothold, the motivation to do more usually follows. If you're pressed for time, consider short but impactful. It's like monthly mini projects where you gather friends or coworkers for an afternoon service initiative. In doing so, you not only multiply impact, but also build a culture that normalizes volunteering as part of daily life. Eventually, we arrive at a breakthrough conclusion. Local volunteering is the heart of a vibrant society because it acts as an incubator for broader change. By engaging in these small-scale actions, you learn vital lessons about empathy, problem solving, and collaborative innovation. These lessons can then be applied to professional life or larger projects. In essence, volunteering locally is not a distraction from big ambitions, but a pathway that enriches them. Deeply with the humans you aim to serve, thereby refining both your perspective and your goals. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, in just under 20 words, a small group of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith, can alter the course of history. This encapsulates the powerful discovery that local action, fueled by collective spirit, can lead to sweeping transformations. Kind of miserable Now, let's unfold the second key point in a storytelling manner. Picture a young entrepreneur I once met. Bright woman named Sasha who had set her heart on founding a cutting-edge biotech startup. She was a whirlwind of ideas, always thinking 10 steps ahead. In the early days of her venture, Sasha poured all her energy into prototypes, investor pitches, and networking events. She was so consumed by her professional hustle that she neglected to notice the vibrant volunteer community operating within her very neighborhood. One day, on a rare afternoon off, she stumbled upon a local community center that was distributing fresh produce to elderly residents. At first, she simply paused to observe, curious about the crowd. Then she got drawn in the buzzing warmth of people working together. Before she knew it, she was helping bag groceries and exchange smiles with seniors. She went home that night, not just physically tired, but mentally energized. A small, spontaneous moment lit a spark of empathy and promote growth inside her. Over the following weeks, Sasha discovered more about herself than she ever had through business seminars. At the community center, she learned how to calmly handle tense situations, like when a family arrived frustrated about the limited food supply. She discovered the power of improvisation. She coordinated with local grocers, found a surplus of donated goods, and rallied volunteers to distribute them effectively. The strong sense of camaraderie and shared purpose reminded her of what teamwork could be at its best. No manager was barking orders. Everyone simply pitched in because they believed in the cause. That experience contrasted sharply with her startup environment, where stress often ran high, and collaboration sometimes took a backseat to competition. She took these observations back to her team, adjusting communication styles and fostering a warmer, more community-oriented culture at her biotech venture. Challenges inevitably arose in balancing volunteering with her demanding schedule. She had product prototypes that needed refinement, investor deadlines that loomed. Some weeks, Sasha wondered if she had stretched herself too thin. She'd ask, is all this volunteering worth the extra stress? Yet each time she returned to the community center, she left with renewed clarity, more grounded in the reality of human needs and relationships. She discovered that volunteering was more than a hobby or moral checkbox. It was a real-world lab for leadership skills. When new community center volunteers looked to her for guidance on distribution days, she realized how much she'd grown from her initial position, confused observer. In that sense, the solutions were embedded within the challenges, rather than seeing volunteering as time lost. Sasha recognized it as a powerful infusion of empathy and perspective that ultimately fed her professional vision. She learned several lessons that continue to guide her today. First, serving others fosters adaptability. Each volunteering experience presents unique problems to solve on the spot, sharpening critical thinking. Second, it nurtures emotional intelligence. Greeting anxious families or assisting elderly neighbors requires patience and compassion, vital qualities in any leadership role. Third, it connects you to your own community in ways that remind you want to innovate in the first place. Sasha's startup eventually secured robust funding, partly because her pitch emphasized the real-world impact her biotech solutions could have on local clinics. Her volunteer work gave her a tangible narrative that investors and community members could connect with, transforming a technical pitch into a mission-driven story. By the time Sasha realized how profoundly her volunteer experiences had influenced leadership, she felt a new kinship with the neighbors and her employees alike. She started scheduling monthly volunteer sessions for her entire team, making community support part of the company's DNA. Her story inspires us because it highlights how, by stepping out of our usual professional silos, grow in unexpected and essential ways. As her biotech venture flourished, so did community center, benefiting from fresh resources, broader outreach, and an influx of enthusiastic helpers. Is the human dimension of volunteering it closes gaps between people who might otherwise move in completely separate spheres of life. When challenges arise, solutions are not imposed from a distance but emerge organically from local collaboration. For Sasha, it wasn't just about distributing groceries or meeting philanthropic obligations. It was a genuine merging of her entrepreneurial spirit with a heartfelt desire to do good on a local level. Seeing the difference she made in people's lives reaffirmed her confidence and spurred her to be bolder, more creative, and more ethically grounded in her biotech work. She also found that employees who participated returned to the office with a deeper sense of community and teamwork. At the end of her journey, she often cited an uplifting line from Martin Luther King Jr. Sums up her newfound philosophy: everyone can be great because everyone can serve. The quote contained only 18 words, yet it resonated profoundly with her startup's ethos. She recognized that local volunteering wasn't a detour from her dream, but an essential part of its foundation. It reinforced the story she was building and the legacy she wanted to leave behind. Shifting just to the third key point, and let's analyze the broader landscape through data, trends, depth research to see exactly how volunteering shapes not just individual experience, but entire communities and, by extension, larger societal structures. Studies conducted over the last decade consistently reveal that neighborhoods with active volunteer networks experience lower crime rates, increased property values, and stronger social cohesion. One recent report indicated that in cities where at least 40% of residents engaged in some form of regular volunteering, there was a measurable decrease in public health emergencies. People were more inclined to check on neighbors, resources, and assist vulnerable populations, thereby easing the burden on local healthcare systems. Market trends further suggest that corporations and startups are paying attention to this dynamic. Corporate social responsibility (CSR) programs have evolved from peripheral initiatives to core strategies for attracting top talent. Surveys show that millennials and Gen Z, in particular, for employers that demonstrate tangible community involvement, companies that encourage volunteerism often see higher employee satisfaction and retention rates. This aligns with the reality that people do not merely want a paycheck, they want meaning and connection. Forward-thinking businesses leverage that insight, aligning volunteer opportunities with their brand values. Data underscores how volunteering is becoming a vital component of corporate culture, influencing everything from recruitment to consumer loyalty. Deeper research into communal well-being also gets a strong correlation between volunteerism and mental health. Individuals who consistently engage in local service report lower levels of stress, reduced feelings of isolation, greater sense of purpose. These findings are supported by psychological studies that highlight the endorphin boost and emotional fulfillment derived from altruistic activities. In practical terms, communities benefit from fewer social problems such as loneliness and mental health crises because people are more interconnected, creating informal safety nets. It's not just about moral duty. It's about constructing an environment where mutual support is the norm. Practical applications of this research become evident in policy making and urban planning. Some city governments are incentivizing volunteer programs by offering tax benefits or coordinating public-private partnerships. Urban developers, recognizing the positive impact of community involvement, design neighborhoods that facilitate communal gatherings in shared green spaces and volunteer-friendly community centers. Over time, these measures can significantly shift city-wide metrics. While technology can accelerate and streamline many aspects of these programs, like matching volunteers to specific community needs, the human element remains irreplaceable. An app can remind you to volunteer. It's your presence on the ground that truly weaves people together. Looking toward future predictions, volunteering is poised to become an even more critical social glue, particularly as societal challenges grow more complex. Anticipate an increase in skills-based volunteering where individuals apply professional expertise, like coding, marketing, finance, or project management, to uplift local initiatives. This not only amplifies the impact on the community, but also creates a powerful learning feedback loop for volunteer. As more people come to realize that local service is not a distraction from personal and professional development, but a complement, we'll witness a surge in integrated volunteer programs. Imagine a scenario where an AI-driven platform connects small nonprofits in need of data analytics with volunteer data scientists, while philanthropic organizations provide micro grants, fueling local renaissance and innovation. In this sense, volunteering becomes not just a charitable exercise, but a cornerstone of regional growth, bridging the gap between sectors that previously operated in isolation. When we bring this all together, Research Vivid Picture Volunteering is a multi-faceted force that promotes economic resilience, social stability, mental wellness, and cultural enrichment. It's the hidden framework that supports vibrant communities, offering practical pathways for individuals and organizations to collaborate. Warren Buffett once said something that resonates deeply with this concept. Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Those 21 words capture the essence of forward-thinking service. By volunteering now, we lay the groundwork for future generations to thrive, ensuring that the seeds of our efforts grow into robust structures of support and opportunity. And kind of to get moving into the fourth key point, let's take an interactive approach to illustrate how volunteerism can be seamlessly woven into our busy modern lives. For a moment, imagine you're standing in front of a whiteboard, markers of different colors representing various facets of your daily routine, work obligations, family responsibilities, social engagements, and personal pursuits. Now, I ask you to take a different colored marker and draw a circle indicating where volunteering might fit. You might hesitate, noticing there's already little free space. Yet, if we look more creatively, find pockets of opportunity. Perhaps early on a Saturday morning, or an hour after work on a weekday, or maybe even using remote volunteering platforms that allow you to contribute from your computer at home. If we were in a group discussion right now, I'd invite you to share your biggest hesitations. Some might say, I just don't have time. Others might worry about not having the right skills or feeling shy about stepping into unfamiliar community environments. From experience, these are universal concerns. The trick is to normalize them. When you're part of a group that openly acknowledges these challenges, you begin to brainstorm collectively. Maybe someone else has a flexible schedule on Tuesday afternoons and is looking for a volunteer buddy. Perhaps there's a local nonprofit that needs help with website design, a perfect match for a tech-savvy volunteer who can contribute remotely at convenient hours. The essence of interactive learning is experience sharing. Think back to a moment when you lent a hand, however briefly, and felt a surge of satisfaction. Maybe it was helping a friend move or mentoring a junior colleague. Those micro-volunteer experiences are the seeds that can grow into broader community involvement. Sometimes the best way to dive deeper is to reflect on those moments and realize that volunteering doesn't have to be a grand, life-altering commitment. It can start small with action fit comfortably into your existing lifestyle and expand as your enthusiasm grows. From there, we move to direct practice. The next logical step is to actually sign up for a local initiative. Maybe it's a youth coding workshop if you're a software developer, or a community garden project if you love nature and want to encourage sustainable living. Tangible act contributing even a few hours per month starts to shift your mindset. You begin to see your local environment differently, the people you meet, the issues you tackle, and the successes you celebrate all feed back into an ongoing cycle of personal growth. This is the most powerful part of volunteering. It transforms from an item on your to-do list into a self-reinforcing habit that aligns with your values. Finally, let's summarize the learning here. Volunteering is not an all-or-nothing proposition. By engaging in thought exercises, group discussions, and personal reflections, we uncover that everyone has unique skills and time windows. All that's required is the willingness to adapt your schedule and find an avenue that resonates with you. Whether it's teaching, cleaning up a local beach, assisting at a senior center, leveraging digital platforms to mentor someone from a distance, the options are vast. It's about matching your strengths and available time with needs that exist in your immediate community. From that vantage point, you realize that volunteering is much more accessible than you might have initially believed. Bill Gates once shared a short yet impactful thought. How you use your resources determines the difference you make. Those 10 words pack significance into how we view our time, skills, and energy. Even small contributions, directed wisely, can make an outsized impact in our local spaces. Now, we come to the fifth key point, presented as a problem-solving pattern, focusing on identifying obstacles and outlining concrete steps to overcome them. The initial challenge is often wrapped in a cultural narrative that volunteering is optional or secondary. Society tends to measure success in terms of career milestones, earnings, or visible achievements. Therefore, volunteering can be undervalued as a nice-to-have activity rather than a critical dimension of personal and communal development. Another challenge lies in resource allocation, both time and money. People with limited financial means may feel they lack the capacity to contribute, while those with demanding schedules believe they can't spare additional hours. By breaking down the root causes, we see that the problem is not a lack of desire to help, but a combination of societal attitudes and logistical hurdles. Many of us grew up with the idea that personal success must be pursued relentlessly, sometimes at the expense of community ties. Meanwhile, social media and other technologies, while connecting us globally, can ironically create isolation in our immediate neighborhoods. When you don't know your neighbors, it's easier to forget or dismiss local issues that need attention. That's why the first step in root cause analysis is acknowledging that these pressures are real and not entirely self-imposed. They're reinforced by a culture that doesn't always reward community minuteness as much as it rewards individual milestones. The solution proposals here involve shifting both mindset and structures. On a personal level, we can start by reframing volunteering as an integral part of success rather than an optional extra. When we see acts of service as investments in human capital, our own and that of our neighbors, it becomes much clearer that volunteering enriches our lives. On a societal level, we can encourage corporations, educational institutions, and local governments to integrate volunteer opportunities more systematically. Schools can make community service a part of the curriculum, teaching students early on that giving back is a core life skill, not a peripheral activity. Workplaces can offer paid volunteer days or sponsor local programs that align with their corporate mission. Within neighborhoods, local councils and small businesses can form alliances to direct resources in the most urgent local problems. An action plan might look like this first. A personal inventory of a unique skill set in your weekly schedule. Identify a feasible time slot, maybe just 2 hours per week or one weekend a month, that match your skills or interests to local needs. A youth mentorship program, a community garden, a local food drive, or a technology workshop for seniors. Make a commitment by signing up for a specific event or role. Next, expand your impact by involving a friend or colleague. The presence of a peer increases accountability and volunteering into a shared experience that can be both fun and meaningful. If you lead a team or company, explore offering structured volunteering options. The more you institutionalize the idea of giving back, whether through recognition programs or team building exercises, the more embedded it becomes in the culture. To measure success, you can track basic metrics. How many hours you volunteered, the number of community members assisted, or tangible outcomes like improvements in local amenities. More subtly, keep an eye on personal growth indicators. Do you feel more connected to your neighborhood? Have you acquired new skills or insights that are transferable to your professional life? You're noticing an uptick in team morale if you've integrated volunteering into your organization. If these measurements show progress, it reinforces the cycles, spurring you to take on bigger challenges or inspire others to join. Over time, you can build a portfolio of community projects you've supported, turning intangible altruism into visible achievements you can proudly reference. Moments when doubts arise, and they will, remember another wise perspective from Jane Goodall, who once said, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." That 21-word quote cuts to the core of the problem-solving approach. We all face limited time, energy, and resources. We have the power to direct those resources in ways that meaningfully shape the world around us. By systematically identifying challenges, analyzing their roots, proposing tangible solutions, creating action plans, measuring success, we transform volunteering from a vague intention into concrete, life-enriching practice. Kind of get we find ourselves at the transformative stage of our hero's journey, equipped with new insights, broader perspectives, a genuine conviction that local community service is not just an act of kindness, but a foundational element of our collective future. Let's move toward the conclusion where we bring this wisdom back to our everyday lives, to apply it in ways that uplift both ourselves and those around us. When I imagine the future, I see a world where every neighborhood is brimming with creative energy, supported by volunteers of all ages and backgrounds. I envision startups that prioritize community well being as an inherent part of their business models, schools that nurture compassion alongside academic excellence, and local governments that champion grassroots innovation. We're at a tipping point of technology, social change, and human empathy can merge to address the complex challenge our societies face. But big change doesn't happen solely in think tanks or billionaire board meetings. It takes root in everyday acts of service, in the Unglemore spaces where people show up out of pure generosity. This is the future we can build, one volunteer effort at a time, one neighborhood at a time, eventually scaling to a global tapestry of collaborative action. That path is not without obstacles, of course, which leads us to a critical challenge. In a rapidly evolving world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of problems, environmental crises, economic disparities, public health emergencies, and so on. When issues feel immense, local volunteering may appear inconsequential. Perception couldn't be further from the truth. The challenge lies in overcoming the apathy that arises from feeling too small in the face of monumental global concerns. We must remind ourselves and others that local efforts are the seeds of worldwide transformation. Consistently highlighting success stories, like the once struggling Los Angeles district that transformed through volunteer mentorship, the young entrepreneur Sasha who discovered leadership skills in the community center, we reinforce the truth that real change starts in small, tangible ways. As someone who has championed ambitious endeavors, commit to supporting and spotlighting initiatives that begin at the grassroots level. That support can come in various forms, funding local technology training programs to empower underserved communities, amplifying volunteer success stories to media platforms, or developing collaborative projects where budding startups partner with nonprofit organizations to solve local challenges. My pledge is to make sure we channel resources not just into the cosmic scale of space exploration or the sweeping vision of renewable energy, but also into nurturing the soil of our very own neighborhoods. If you're leading a company, I urge you to implement policies that encourage your employees to volunteer, whether it's offering flexible schedules or celebrating volunteer achievements as vigorously as you celebrate sales milestones. If you're a student, consider voting part of your projects or internships to local community service. The power of synergy lies in building partnerships among businesses, schools, local councils, and passionate individuals. In doing so, create an ecosystem where community service is seamlessly interwoven with the broader mission of progress. I stand here hopeful that this conversation has ignited a spark within you, a renewed sense of volunteering is not a peripheral item on a long list of things to do. A core practice that enhances every other aspect of your life. Let us choose to make service to our community as part of our identity. Let us envision our neighborhoods as dynamic laboratories where empathy meets innovation, forging pathways that can then scale upwards and outwards. The beauty of local volunteering is that it requires neither fame nor fortune, only the willingness to act and the openness to connect. Thousands of people in thousands of neighborhoods decide to work locally. The cumulative effect reshapes entire cities and eventually influences global perspectives. As I close, I invite you to imagine a single image, you, standing beside a neighbor or new friend, collectively solving a small problem that once seemed too big to touch. Feel the pride of knowing that your hands, your ideas, your heart made a tangible difference in someone's life, right where you live. That's the power of volunteering. It's the force that not only cleans a park or tutors a child, but also expands our own sense of what's possible. We become more attuned to each other, more driven to solve bigger issues, and more capable of achieving breakthroughs that resonate far beyond our local borders. We might each be only one individual in a world of billions, but each of us is also a point of light in a vast constellation. Our points of light converge through consistent shared action in our local areas. We collectively brighten the world. That's the story we can write together, so starting now. Go forth and volunteer. help out in your community and discover that in giving yourself, you become part of something measurably larger. Let this be our call to action, our collective transformation, and our promise to return with wisdom that not only enriches our personal lives, but charts a more hopeful course for all of humanity. Thank you. Thank you, and may your next step be one of inspired service.